Hi, welcome to today's lesson. Our learning target today is I can compare decimals to the thousandths place. Today we'll look at two decimals and learn a strategy for telling which one's bigger. Let's get started. How to compare decimal numbers. Step 1. Compare the digits in each place value, beginning with the greatest place value and working towards the least place value. Step 2. The greatest number is the first number to have a greater digit. Let's see what we mean by that by doing a ton of examples. Here's our first problem. We have 8 and 41 hundredths and 8 and 31 hundredths. Now, if by saying those numbers you're not sure which is least or greater, let's use the two-step strategy that we just discussed. Here on this slide is a place value chart. The first thing I'll do is write down our first number, 8 and 41 hundredths, putting each digit in its correct place value. So the 8 will go in the ones place, the tenths will have a 4 in it, and the 1 will go in the hundredths place, 8 and 41 hundredths. And then I will write down the second number in the second row on our place value chart. The 8 goes in the ones place, the 3 goes in the tenths place, and the 1 goes in the hundredths place. Now, in step 2 of our strategy, we begin with the greatest place value, and we work our way towards the least, and we look for the first time the digits are, one digit is greater than the other. So let's start with the ones place. That's the greatest place value in this number, and both digits are 8. They're equal so far, so let's move on to the next lesser place value, the tenths place. And here we see a 4 and a 3. So the 4 is greater than the 3, which means 8 and 41 hundredths is greater than 8 and 31 hundredths. And so we will use our greater than sign to show that 8 and 41 hundredths is greater than 8 and 31 hundredths. Let's try another one. 1 and 563 thousandths, 1 and 155 thousandths. Let's begin by writing these numbers on our place value chart. The 1 goes in the ones place, the 5 goes in the tenths place, the 6 in the hundredths, and the 3 in the thousandths place. And in our second number, the 1 goes in the ones place, the 1 goes in the tenths place, the 5 goes in the hundredths place, and the other 5 goes in the thousandths place. We now have both numbers correctly entered onto our place value chart. Let's compare them digit by digit, beginning with the greatest place value and moving towards the least. In the ones place, our greatest place value, we see both digits are 1. They are equal. Let's move on. In the tenths place, look at that. This is the first time we see the digits are different. The 5 is greater than the 1, which means 1 and 563 thousandths is greater than 1 and 155 thousandths. So let's use our greater than sign to show 1 and 563 thousandths is greater than 1 and 155 thousandths. And let's try another one. Here we have 2 and 5 tenths and 2 and 419 thousandths. Which one is greater? Well, step 1, let's write these numbers on our place value chart. The 2 goes in the ones place, the 5 goes in the tenths place. And in our second number, the 2 goes in the ones place, the 4 goes in the tenths place, the 1 goes in the hundredths place, and the 9 goes in the thousandths place. And here for the first time we see that there are more digits in one number than the other. When this is the case, you can use as placeholders zeros to fill the empty boxes. You don't need to, but for a lot of people, it helps to see digits in blank boxes instead of just emptiness. So there we go. And after doing so, this might help you solve the problem because as I wrote those digits, did you see that 5 all of a sudden look like a 500 thousandths? That's a clue. All right, back to our strategy. Beginning with the greatest place value, that's the ones place. Here we see that there are 2 2s there, and they are equal. Let's move on to the tenths place. Look at that. Here we have a 5 and a 4. 5 is greater than 4, so 2 and 500 thousandths is greater than 2 and 419 thousandths. We can also say 2 and 5/10 is greater than 2 and 419 thousandths. Those are both true statements. Let's use our pen to make this number sentence true. 2 and 5/10 is greater than 2 and 419 thousandths. Let's try another one. Step 1, let's enter our first number, which is 5 and 181 thousandths, into our place value chart. 5 goes in the ones place, a 1 in the tenths, an 8 in the hundredths, and a 1 in the thousandths place. And our second number, 5 and 118 thousandths. A 5 goes in the ones place, a 1 in the tenths, a 1 in the hundredths, and an 8 in the thousandths. Let's begin comparing place value by place value, digit by digit, from the greatest to the least. Here in our greatest place value, which is the ones place, we see 2 5s. Those are equal, so let's move on. Here in the tenths place, we see 2 1s. Those are equal digits. Let's keep moving to the right here in our lesser place values. Here in the hundredths place, here we go. We see an 8 and a 1. That means since 8 is greater than 1, 5 and 181 thousandths is greater than 5 and 118 thousandths. We'll use our pen to make this number sentence true by writing a greater than sign. 5 and 181 thousandths is greater than 5 and 118 thousandths. All right, it's time for you to try. Here we have two numbers, 2 and 5/10, 2 and 419 thousandths. Go ahead. Which one is greater? Okay. Did you begin by either on paper or mentally or even on your screen writing out these digits? 2 and 5/10 looks like this, with a 2 in the ones place and a 5 in the tenths place. And 2 and 419 thousandths looks like this, a 2 in the ones place, a 4 in the tenths place, a 1 in the hundredths place, and a 9 in the thousandths place. If you'd like, we can write circles, it's late, zeros in our blank place values. And here we see a problem that looks eerily similar to one we just did, doesn't it? I didn't plan it this way, but let's keep going. Yes, we can see if we compare place values. In the ones place, we have 2 2s, and in the tenths place, we see the 5 is greater than the 4. So 2 and 5/10 is greater than 2 and 419 thousandths. Here we go. This problem's new. Let's try this one. Which number is greater? Okay, let's begin. 9 and 71 hundredths looks like this in our place value chart. And 9 and 710 thousandths looks like this in our place value chart. We do see one blank box here in the thousandths place in the top number. So if we'd like, and I'd like to do that, I'm going to fill it in with a placeholder 0. And now we see, interesting. Now we see if we can compare, the ones place have identical digits, 9 and 9. The tenths have identical digits, 7 and 7. The hundredths have identical digits, 1 and 1. And the thousandths have identical digits, 0 and 0. If all the digits are equal, of course the numbers are equal too. And so, in order to make this number sentence true, we will write 9 and 71 hundredths is equal to 9 and 710 thousandths. Our learning target today is I can compare decimals to the thousandths place. It's time to get to work on some independent practice, but if you need help or you just want to get started or you want to check in with me, please ask. I'm ready to go. Okay, let's do this.